You know that person who forgets to eat lunch, the one who orders the same thing every time, not because they love it, but because deciding feels like a waste of energy? Yeah, that person at the dinner table who says, I don't care, you pick, and actually means it. Everyone calls them boring, joyless, maybe even a little suspicious. But what if I told you their brain is just running a completely different operating system? If you're someone who genuinely doesn't understand foodie culture, who eats to survive rather than to experience, or who choose convenience over flavor every single time, welcome. You're about to feel very seen. And today, we're breaking down the psychology of people who don't obsess over food, the ones society calls bland, but neuroscience calls something else entirely. Here's the thing. Most people think food is a universal love language. Instagram feeds filled with brunch photos, entire TV networks dedicated to cooking shows, first dates planned around restaurants. But here's what psychologists have discovered. Some brains just don't light up the same way around food. It's not that they hate eating, it's that food exists in their mental hierarchy as fuel, not entertainment. Scientists call this low reward sensitivity to food stimuli. While some people's dopamine receptors fire like fireworks at the sight of a perfectly plated dish, others get the same neurological response whether they're eating gourmet pasta or a protein bar at their desk. But there's more going on than just brain chemistry. Some people don't obsess over food because their mental energy is allocated elsewhere. Psychologists call this cognitive priority distribution. Think about it. Planning meals, researching restaurants, photographing dishes, discussing flavors, that all requires bandwidth. And for people whose brains are deeply focused on ideas, projects, or internal worlds, food decisions feel like an unnecessary drain on processing power. They're not being difficult when they say anything is fine. They genuinely cannot justify spending mental resources on something their brain has categorized as maintenance, not experience. Here's something wild. Studies show that people with lower food obsession often have what's called high functional efficiency. They make decisions faster, experience less decision fatigue, and waste less time on daily logistics. While someone's spending 40 minutes scrolling through delivery apps comparing options, the non food obsessed person has already eaten and moved on with their day. Their relationship with food isn't sad, it's streamlined. They've automated what others agonize over. And let's be honest, society romanticizes food culture to an almost religious degree. You're supposed to have a favorite restaurant, a signature dish, strong opinions about coffee beans, and olive oil quality. But what if you just don't? What if eating the same breakfast for 3 years doesn't feel monotonous to you? It feels efficient. What if you're not missing out on life's pleasures? You're just experiencing pleasure through completely different channels. The person who doesn't care about food might be the same person who can spend hours lost in a book, a conversation, or solving a complex problem. Their joy isn't absent, it's just not on their plate. Now, some people have a complicated relationship with food for darker reasons: eating disorders, past trauma, sensory processing issues, or depression that strips pleasure from everything, including meals. And if that's your story, that's real and valid. So it's important to ask yourself, do I not obsess over food because it genuinely doesn't interest me, or because eating feels difficult or fraught? Because one is a preference, the other is something that might need support. But for those who truly just see food as functional, they're not broken. They're efficiency oriented. They're the ones who meal prep the same 5 things every week and feel zero boredom, who can eat in silence without needing ambiance or presentation, who find freedom in not caring what's for dinner. And in a world that's constantly selling you the next food trend, the next restaurant experience, the next culinary adventure, their indifference isn't emptiness, it's liberation. Hit subscribe if you've ever said, food is just food, and watch people look at you like you're broken. Psychologists call this utilitarian eating orientation. These people don't hate food, they just refuse to make it their personality. They don't lack appreciation, they just have a different relationship with necessity versus pleasure. So if you're someone who eats the same lunch every day without complaint, who genuinely doesn't care where the group goes for dinner, who can't remember the last time you tried a new restaurant. Because why would you? You're not missing some fundamental human experience. You're just wired for function over fuss, for simplicity over sophistication, for fuel over fanfare. Tell me, do you obsess over food, or are you the whatever I'll eat anything person? And if you want the psychology behind why you don't care about things everyone else seems obsessed with, the next video is going to hit differently. Click it. You'll finally understand.